When you decide to start a business, you want to spend your time doing something that you enjoy, help people, and make some money. Most of us are not signing up to become marketing and sales experts or content creators and influencers. And all of a sudden, now they're staring down the hellscape that is the whole marketing ecosystem, especially in a rapidly evolving landscape with AI generated content and algorithmic platforms that are constantly distracting us with the ask for more or this tactic that will let you go viral and all sorts of other things that just feel kind of scare tactic-y to me. In my experience, the most basic thing holding people back from getting in front of the potential clients that might want to buy from them isn't just about having the right hook or this new light that will make your video quality so much better, but something quite deeper. And that comes from the truth that more is not necessarily better in marketing. All of the marketing tips and tricks may be one thing if you have a team to deploy on your marketing or if you're already a mature marketer from some prior experience. But for most small business owners who are generating meaningful revenue through the service of what they're good at, they don't have endless amounts of time to devote to becoming marketing whizzes or to become the face of a content creation empire that then feeds their business behind the scenes. And that's because most service-based business owners still need to run the business. You still need to spend time serving your clients and delivering the things that actually make you money right now. And trying to do more in your marketing runs the risk of taking your time away from the thing that's generating revenue in hopes of trying to generate more revenue. But you see how that's a backwards cycle? If you're at the point of wanting to get in front of more people, or especially higher price point, more qualified people, just playing the brute force volume game is not likely to be successful because your attention is going to get distributed across too many things. The thing that is currently making you revenue and the things that might make you revenue in the future. But this category is like a crazy web of 17 million things that you could be doing. And as we know, if you try to do everything, you're not going to do anything well. But I get it. It's hard to resist the trying to do everything to see what works, which is I think what a lot of small business owners start with. They say, well, let me at least test a couple platforms and then I can see which one is the best for me or which one I actually enjoy creating and I'll double down then. I can tell even in that sentence that you know what it really takes to be successful at marketing, which is focusing on one thing. But the very human instinct of resisting having to commit to one thing steers a lot of small business owners wrong. And let's be clear, that's human. It's hard to decide on one thing because then you're worried about, well, what if I missed the big thing that could have been great for me? The problem is when you spread your attention over too many things, not only is your attention divided, but you're not able to take advantage of one of the most powerful forces in marketing and I would sort of argue the world. And to illustrate that force, I wanted to do a little bit of an experiment. So would you rather take $1 million today or take 1 cent that's doubled every day for the next 30 days. I want you to actually think about this and make this decision for yourself. And then we're going to run this experiment and we can see whether you made the right call. All right, you got it? So let's say, just for the sake of description, I chose the $1 million and that you chose the 1 cent doubling every day. So let's see how this goes. On day 1, my $1 million looks pretty crazy in compared to your 1 cent. And it doesn't get a whole lot better over the first week. On day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, everything looks pretty dramatic in favor of $1 million because you are sitting with 64 cents at the end of the first week. I'm going to be honest, the second week is not much better, but let's speed this process up a little bit. On day 14, you only have $81.92. At the end of week 3, on day 21, things have started to look up, leaving you with $10,485.76. Well, things are going to change a lot between the end of week 3 and the end of week 4, because on day 28, you have $1,342,177.28. And there are still 2 days left to go in this experiment. By day 30, when 1 cent doubles every day for 30 days, on day 30, you have $5,368,709.12. That is a crazy number compared to my 1 million. The reason this happens is what many of us call the 8th wonder of the world, the process of compounding. You've probably heard the process of compounding referred to in the context of compounding interest, which often is referred to in a financial concept. But at the layman's level, what compounding really means is that your growth is not based on a fixed rate. Your growth is continuously recalculated at fixed intervals based on your current baseline. So let's talk practically here. When you're looking at growth on a fixed rate, that might look like, oh, your Instagram following is going to grow 10% every month. But in a fixed setting, you're calculating based on the original number the whole time. So if you start with 100 followers, at a fixed rate, your followers would be 110, and then 120, and then 130, because you're always calculating that 10% based on the original 100. Now, in the real world, that's rarely how things work, and that's generally for the better. So when you hear compound interest in terms of investing in the stock market, what's happening is usually monthly or quarterly, your interest is being calculated based on whatever the new total value is. So say you invested $100 and you get a 5% interest rate. At the end of that first interval, let's say a month, you have $105. But then the next month when they calculate that 5%, they're not calculating on the original 100, they're calculating on that new 105. So over time, as your baseline grows, the amount that you're getting back in growth is going to scale dramatically. The applications of compounding are not just in how you invest your money. It can also apply in terms of audience growth, because the algorithms tend to sort of think about creators with a sort of credibility based on your existing followers or the retention rate of how long somebody stays in a video. Over time, you can generate more followers or more views faster as an algorithm deems your baseline more trustworthy. This also applies to learning. Just like in that experiment where your growth felt very small at the beginning, when you're learning a new skill, it can feel like you're just chugging away, trying to get to just a baseline level of being okay at that thing. But if you stick with something day over day or week over week, refining your skill level, at some point you'll feel like you have these big leaps in terms of the skills and your ability to apply those skills, because you stuck with small improvements of your baseline over time that eventually accumulate into these big compound growth curves. So when I talk to business owners about how to improve their marketing, there can be so much emphasis on, should I be on this platform? Should I improve this hook? And the problem by trying to do too many things at once is that you are slowing down the amount of time until you hit that growth kick in every single thing that you are spreading your attention across. So what does that mean in terms of how to leverage compounding in terms of improving marketing and the growth of your business? The first thing that you have to recognize is that the marketing game these days is intensely competitive. That means that keeping view through rate, gaining a follower, and all of the metrics that the marketing gods care about are harder and harder than ever to convert. Trying to hit it big right now in terms of huge growth overnight or viral videos is kind of like day trading. You're basically gambling, and it's very likely to lose you time and money unless you have some very specific advantage, like a niche skill in video editing, top level animation, or access to high level talent that would deliver these big spikes in viewership overnight. But all is not lost. Just like investing in your marketing long term increases your chances of success substantially. In investing, if you stretch out the amount of time invested over 1 year, your odds improve significantly to about 70% of having a gain. If you invest your money in the markets and you stay in for 10 years, your chance of making money is over 95%. As an experienced marketer and small business, I would say that the likelihood of success in marketing is functionally the same. If you continue investing in your marketing consistently, week over week and month over month, on the timeline of years, your likelihood of reaching success, the metrics that you want, the conversion rate that you want, is virtually 95% plus. But most people never get there because they aren't consistent and they don't stick with it for long. But what can you do if you can't wait years to see growth? Compounding can inform your strategy even in this scenario. Let's imagine that you have 6 hours every week of the month to spend on your marketing, and you're considering whether you should split your attention to creating Instagram reels for 2 hours a week, running Facebook ads for another 2 hours a week, and writing a blog post every week to hopefully drive SEO. Or picking one of those things and using all 6 hours to do that one thing consistently over time. If you're only spending 2 hours a week on each of these disciplines, the amount of time it's reasonably going to take for your quality to improve on any of them is huge. And what that means in terms of that compound growth curve is your ability to see that hockey stick growth moment is probably years away. The key to this working isn't just repetition or consistency, but actually improving your skill. A couple ways to do that is running experiments. So spending active time testing out different strategies. So you're not just spraying and praying and hoping that one thing works, but you come out of each week or month that you ran that experiment with more clarity about what works for you or your audience. Another way is spending active time investigating the best practices of what makes other people in your space or just top performers work best. I keep a dashboard that I built in my Claude to continually resurface top performing and outlying videos, hooks, thumbnails by other people in my space so that I can continue to refine the types of hooks and thumbnails and topics that I'm creating my video at, so the baseline quality of these videos that I'm generating is improving month over month. And most importantly for this process, and arguably the hardest to do as a human, is not quitting on any process before the process of compounding has had time to work. Based on my experience building my last business, it took about 3 months of me posting 10 to 15 times a week on TikTok for my first video to gain traction. And by about 6 months, I had my first viral-ish video. Now, when you think about the number of repetitions that I had put in, by the time I got to those big growth numbers, that is thousands and thousands of videos generated over time. These repetition numbers vary by platform, and so I would think very carefully as you're building your marketing strategy about not just what platform generates the fastest growth, but what platform you can sustain your efforts consistently week over week and that you're actually interested in learning and getting better. When you find the balance, the platform that you're interested in, that you can commit to, and that you want to get better at week over week, you are leveraging all the pieces to create that compound growth curve, and then the game is just sticking with it long enough to see results. As a busy business owner, you already have way too many demands on your attention. Building those marketing strategies that intentionally accumulate skill and credibility over time, even though they feel slow in the beginning, are the ones that pay off long term. I'd love to hear in the comments based on this video which strategy you plan to double down on so that you can see the value of compounding. And if you liked anything about this video, I'd love it if you hit subscribe down below. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.